This episode of the Astro Powder Powdcast is brought to you by Gema. Gema's Optiflex Pro manual gun uses power boost technology, which gives you the industry's highest charging power at 110,000 volts and 110 microamps, allowing for faster and more efficient powder coating. We're handing you more power, more quality, and more control. For a demonstration, call 877-437-6771. Once again, that's 877-437-6771. And be sure to mention, Ask Joe sent me. When you want to know that everything is covered, complete it with Gema.
The following is intended for mature audiences.
What?
Content may not be appropriate for younger children. Hello, all you powder coating fans, and welcome to episode 31 of the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast. 31, it's a prime number, Nate. I'm your host, Joe Powder, a.k.a. Kevin Biller, and with me is my esteemed colleague, sidekick, and the ice baby while the rest of the northern hemisphere sets record high temperatures, Nathan. He's our powder coating formulator dude.
Yeah. We're broadcasting from the Powder Coating Research Group studios in Columbus, Ohio. The purpose of the Astro Powder Podcast is to bring the latest news and technical know-how to the global powder coating community. So let's get it rolling.
Okay, but before we do,
Shout out.
I'd like to give a shout out to our June 2021 powder coating kitchen class of erudite students. Last week we had a room full of extremely bright people intent on learning the fundamentals of formulating powder coatings. Some were from raw material companies, and some were from powder coating manufacturers. I don't want to name names, but their initials are Gunnar, Jeff, Michael, Dave, Steve, Mark, Pete, and Sheila. Not only were they an intelligent group of people with a lot of great interaction, they were a fun group. So it was a great class, and we look forward to a long and enjoyable professional relationship with all of you. Okay, now it's time for the news in our Guess What segment.
What?
It's time for the news in our Guess What segment.
What?
I said it's time for the news in our Guess What segment.
Okay.
Guess what?
PCI Mag reports the latest survey of British Coatings Federation members reveals that UK coatings manufacturers are increasingly concerned about the effects of new UK chemical regulations. Almost 80% of respondents believe that UK REACH will negatively impact their businesses, with the fear that there will be significant reduction in the portfolio of available chemical substances in the UK compared to the EU. 67% of respondents fear higher costs in the future, where suppliers pass on the costs of complying with UK REACH. Bunch more numbers here. 19% of respondents are already reporting that EU suppliers no longer want to export to the UK. The survey also reports challenges for the sector's UK exporters. 60% fear that having to abide by EU REACH and CLP rules as a third country will impact their business competitiveness. And more than 4 in 10 reported increased operating costs over 5%, and 1 in 10 citing a figure of more than 10%.
Well, Nate, you think anybody's surprised? It's like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's Sounds like a bit of a mess.
It sure does.
Okay, and Powder Coating Online reports registration is open for the 2021 Women in Finishing Forum, WIF for short, to be held October 4th through 6th, 2021 at the Embassy Suites, South Bend, Indiana, at the University of Notre Dame. The forum features a variety of professional and personal development sessions, along with networking, team building activities. It's open to women of all job types, from the finishing line to executive management. You can find more about that womeninfinishing.org/forum. It also marks, 2021 marks the debut of the Elizabeth Teska Women in Finishing Forum Scholarship Program. It was established to honor the memory of one of WIF's first official members, and it aims to support women in the industrial finishing and coatings industry by expanding their opportunity to participate in WIF programs. So you can apply for a scholarship to cover the registration fees to their forum.
Sounds like a good thing, Nate. And help get, everybody at the table. Sounds pretty cool.
All right. And from Coatings World, Akzo has reached an agreement to acquire Grupo Orbis, which is present in 10 countries in South America, Central America, and the Antilles. Grupo Orbis has a consolidated revenue of about 1.2 billion Colombian pesos. And the transaction includes Pintuco Paints, which that I believe is where the powder coatings.
They're like an all-around coatings company, and actually their headquarters is in Medellin. During my visit to Colombia in the distant past, they were the company to beat as far as coating technology across the board. They were kind of like the old school paint companies that had house paints and industrial and everything else. Kind of like a mini PPG in Colombia.
Yeah, and this this acquisition also comes with that Pintuco paints, but also Andercol, Polyquim, which is the resins, Mundial, which is distribution and services. So that's going to really expand AkzoNobel's position in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, the biggest coatings company in the world just continues to get bigger.
Are they the biggest?
I think this is going to make them the biggest. I know PPG was up there, with some of their recent acquisitions, but this is a $1.2 billion acquisition.
1.2 billion Colombia's pesos, which is like $4,000. No, I'm kidding, but the conversion rate is ridiculous. It's like thousands of pesos to dollar.
That is COP. Okay. Well, it's 260 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
It's no small.
It gives them a real strong position in that part of the world.
For sure.
Okay, friends. It's time now for the question and answer portion of our podcast.
Do you have a question? Ask Joe Powder. Well, you can ask him. Ask Joe Powder. He has the answer that'll advance your powder coating. It's the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast.
All right, our first question comes from Norm in Angola, Indiana. Norm says, "Hey, Joe, we powder coat formed wire products with 1008/1010 material. Powders are epoxy and polyester hybrid /TGIC types. How long must we wait after cure to A, test for crosshatch adhesion, and B, before we do MEK rub tests? If we recoat over a thin coat, will that affect the cure time, affecting the same tests?"
Hey, Norm, thanks for your questions. And let's first talk about the powder coating material types that you mentioned. You said epoxy and polyester hybrid /TGIC. And just for our listeners, I think you're talking about epoxy polyester powder coatings, also known as hybrids, and polyester TGIC products. So regardless of either of these chemistries, the manner in which you conduct the after cure testing is the same. And I think I know where your thinking is. With many, if not all, liquid paint technologies, you have to wait some time after the coating has quote unquote dried to do testing, because the cure continues somewhat after the material has been.
I think they say 72 hours for a lot of liquid coating. 72
hours. Some people say a week, depending on the chemistry. But with powder coatings, you can evaluate the finish as soon as the parts have reached ambient temperature out of the oven. And really, you just want to make sure that it's not above room temperature. And the reason for that is the entirety of cure occurs in the oven. So the polymers and curing agents used to react, they harden as they progress through the oven, and the cure, if everything's done at the right time and temperature, is complete. The important thing here is it doesn't continue to cure when it's outside the oven. So, but to answer your other question about the two coat, you said a thin coat over a previous coat of powder coating. You have to be careful, and you have to be cognizant that you have to pay attention to see if there's a complete intercoat adhesion between the coats, because sometimes if the first coat is overbaked too far, or if the oven is not clean, you can get some fouling on the surface, and that can, either one of those things can impair the adhesion.
All right, and then we got a follow-up question from the same person. He says, thanks again. Now your response raises another question from our sales engineering department. Is there a minimum time to wait to do the crosshatch test after salt spray tests are performed? We test for a few parameters for different customers, namely 96 hours to 192 hours to failure, sometimes over a primer, sometimes over a double pass top coat. A general response statement would be acceptable.
Okay. For one thing, the way the salt spray test or salt fog test is conducted, typically, and I mean this is like most of the time, the cut through the coating or the scribe is done before the test panels or test parts are put on the salt spray test. It's not really considered part of the test to do an adhesion test per se after the test has been run. So, basically the test should be, the coating should be scribed and then put on test and then removed from the test cabinet. We normally check the performance of the coating, namely the scribe and then the field, whether or not it blisters, anywhere from 15 minutes onward after it's been retrieved from the salt fog cabinet. We're just looking for the panels to be relatively dry. And we use a wooden tongue depressor, and we vigorously rub across the scribe. And then we follow the evaluation protocols put forth by ASTM D1654 and D714 as part of the evaluation. Hope this helps, Norm. Have a great day. Joe.
Okay, and our next question comes from Manish in Toronto. Manish says, hello, Joe. I would like to know about a quality checklist of food-grade powder coating as per FDA requirement.
Okay, Manish, thanks for the question. And the most common FDA regulation for powder coatings has to do with incidental contact with food products, and it's covered under the U.S. 21 CFR, which is a code of federal regulations. It's 175.300 or 175.300. which is entitled Resinous and Polymeric Coatings. This code provides the formulator with what we call a white list of ingredients that can be used in our formulas and comply with this regulation for contact with food products. So basically, we've got a list of polymers, additives, pigments. Actually, pigments are on another list as well. But ingredients that we can put in our coating and can meet this requirement, which this pretty much limits us to either epoxy polyester, or certain types of polyester-based powder coatings. One thing that's important to note, though, is not all of these chemistries are created equally. You can't say that all of those chemistries are compliant. They have to be specific to that white list, and your powder coating supplier should be able to certify that for you. So only the products that are specifically formulated per this CFR 175.300 are considered acceptable. Okay, it's time for a word from our sponsors.
Whether you're the shop manager, system engineer, or powder coater, once you decide to make Gema an integral part of your shop, you'll understand how simple it is to be so productive. For a demonstration, call 877-437-6771. Once again, that's 877-437-6771. And be sure to mention, Ask Joe sent me. When you want to know that everything is covered, complete it with Gema.
The Powder Coating Research Group is a proud sponsor of the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast. PCR is the only independent laboratory dedicated to powder coating technology. We do everything from raw material evaluation, formulating the next generation of coatings, new product development, testing, troubleshooting, training, and consulting. To find out more, visit our website at powdercoatingresearch.com, or you can email Kevin Biller at kevinbiller@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening to the Ask Joe Powder Podcast. All right, our next question comes from David in Florida. David says, Dear Joe, we tried using clear powder coat years ago, which resulted in orange peel. Have there been any advances with clear powders today?
Well, David, I have to tell you, clear coat powder technology has been around for years. I think you would say it's probably from, soon after they started powder coating pipelines back in the mid-1960s. And depending upon the chemistry and the intended use, they can range from a kind of a low gloss texture to a crystal clear, nearly glass-like finish. As a matter of fact, the apex of powder clear coat technology was realized in 1997 when BMW began applying an acrylic-based powder clear coat to their 5 and 7 Series automobiles at their plants in Dingolfing, Germany. So extremely smooth, high-quality clear powder coatings have been around for over 25 years. And not only can you find that type of quality on the BMWs, which they've since moved to a different technology about 5 years ago, but smooth, clear coats also are used for high-quality alloy wheels and also bathroom and kitchen fixtures like your taps or water faucets. The product that you had may not have been formulated for the optimum smoothness and appearance. So I think what you probably need to do is get back to your powder coating supplier or suppliers and talk to them about your critical needs. If you want something extremely smooth and clear, there are a handful of chemistries that are available. Including, I mentioned acrylics, which are high priced and can also be incompatible with other powder coatings, but certainly there are polyester and hybrid and also polyurethane powder coatings that have been formulated to be almost perfectly smooth. So let's get back to your powder suppliers and ask them the right questions, and I think you'll be surprised what you're going to find out. So thanks for your question, David. Have a great day. Take care. Joe Powder. Okay, everyone, before we go, let's fill you in on some upcoming events.
Hey, friends, where are we going?
To an upcoming event.
All right. In case you missed it last week or last episode, the European Coating Show 2021 has been canceled. They're just planning on having the 2023 event in March in Nuremberg.
They actually are going to have the conference, digitally or I don't know if it's streaming, but they plan on still having the conference on the 13th and 14th of September. It's just not going to be attended in person.
Okay, so they're not having the expo.
Yeah, the expo, or what they called the show.
Okay. And then the coming up 13th through 15th of July is Powder Coating Week. That's the Powder Coating Institute's week-long event in conjunction with CCAI. That's at Renaissance Orlando at SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. If you are on the other side of a pond, the European Technical Coating Congress is taking place July 12th through 14th in Krakow.
Sounds like a highly technical one. I think that one's going to be a good one.
I think I'm going to miss it this year. The Powder and Bulk Solid Show, which is more focused on equipment handling and, powders that are not necessarily specific to coatings. That's taking place August 24th through 26th in Rosemont, Illinois. The Powder Coating Summit is taking place here in Columbus, Ohio, the 22nd through 23rd of September. The 27th through 29th of September is the Middle East Coating Show in UAE. Shout out to our listeners from UAE. And then moving around some more continents here, China Coat is in Shanghai, November 16th through 18th. And Aberfati is in Sao Paulo, Brazil, November 30th through December 2nd. All right, where can we find the print version of Astro Powder?
All right, you can find the old school print version of the Astro Powder Q&A in Powder Coated Tough magazine, and also PPCJ, Polymers Paint and Color Journal, and a little shout out to our good friends in the UK. Both of those magazines printed in every issue, so you can take a look there. Also, they have them on their websites, of course. And Paint and Coatings Industry magazine, PCI magazine, you can find it on their website under their Finishing Flash tab. Take a gander if you'd like.
All right, you can find us online at AskJoePowder.com. You can find us on any one of your podcast apps where you listen to your podcasts. We have a YouTube channel. We're going to be putting up, when we do interviews, and we might do some more instructional sort of videos on there. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube, that would help out, because then we need 100 subscribers to change the URL to something custom. If you want to ask a question to Joe, the email address is askjoepowder@yahoo.com, or you can call in to our voicemail line, country code 1-478-2-ASK-JOE. That's 1-478-227-5563. This has been a production of the Powder Coating Research Group. The original music, editing, sound stuff, and the stingers is done by Nick Page. Bend over to the front, touch your toes, back that ass up and down, and get low, get low.
And remember, keep your powder dry, my friends.
Thank you for listening to the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast. This episode was brought to you by Gema. Are you looking for a solution to coat your most difficult products with no touch-up? Then Gema's dynamic contouring equipment is the right solution for you. Unlike robotic coating, dynamic contouring offers greater flexibility without all the programming hassle, while correctly positioning each powder gun to automatically coat your parts. For more information, call 877-437-6771. Once again, that's 877-437-6771. And be sure to mention, Ask Joe sent me. Automate it, position it, detect it, code it. Complete it with Gema. All right, and we're back to a very special I'm the Only One Here episode of the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast. And hey, guess what?
Guess what?
Another small bonus fact about the music on this show, the music that goes before and after our mid-episode advertisements is from a song I made called Mean Old Boss Man. That was about the time I fictionally murdered Joe Powder for being a mean old boss man. He's actually a fantastic boss, best I've ever had, and that's why it's funny. I promise he thought it was funny. And I thought it would be funny to use that music on the show when we needed some sort of musical device to switch in and out of advertisements. And speaking of the fictional death of coworkers, let's transition now to a tribute to our esteemed colleague, sidekick, and Evel Knievel jumps the Grand Canyon recreationist Nathan. May he rest in peace.
Stay a while and listen. We're broadcasting from the PCR studios in Columbus, Ohio. Just so you know, the purpose of the Ask Joe Powder Powdcast is to bring news and technical know-how to the global powder coating community. And here we actually got two related questions from a couple of people, so I'll just go through both of them.
Nathan, why we miss you?
Our first question comes from Ildiko Kiss in Hungary. She says, Dear Joe, we're producing Christmas ornaments, and after cleaning all the small parts, we take them to a workshop, which is not ours.
You will be missed.
The combination of the powder coating workshop, the custom coaters, and the powder coating technical conference. The European coating show is in September. Abrafati, the Brazilian international coating show, that's also in September.
We all told you that moped could not jump the Grand Canyon. We miss you, Nathan.